Wisdom teeth. You probably have a story about your wisdom teeth. Maybe you had them pulled in your late teens. Maybe your face swelled up for a week. Maybe you still have them, and they're quietly causing damage you haven't dealt with yet. Here's why they exist in the first place. Your ancestors were eating a completely different diet: raw meat, hard roots, dense plants, bark. Their jaws were bigger, their teeth wore down faster, and by the time adulthood arrived, a fresh set of molars was genuinely useful. But then your lineage started cooking food, cutting it smaller, and that extra grinding power became unnecessary. Your jaw shrank over generations because it stopped doing the heavy work every single day. And now, when your wisdom teeth arrive between 17 and 25, there is simply no room for them. They push against your other teeth, cause misalignment, press on nerves, and damage your jawbone. That's why around 85% of adults, possibly including you, end up having them surgically removed. Here's what's remarkable though. More and more people today are being born without wisdom teeth at all. In some populations, up to 35% of people never develop them. If you're one of them, evolution has already quietly made the decision for you. Within 10,000 to 20,000 years, wisdom teeth are expected to be gone entirely. But wisdom teeth are just the start. Right now, inside your body, there's an organ doing absolutely nothing. And 10 million people a year have it removed without any consequence whatsoever. The appendix. You have an appendix. It's a small, finger-shaped pouch attached to your large intestine. And unless it's already been removed, which it may have been, you're carrying it around right now with no idea what it's doing. The answer is nothing. At least, not anymore. The leading theory is that your appendix dates back around 80 million years, when your ancestors were strict plant eaters. Back then, it likely housed bacteria that helped break down tough cellulose in leaves and plant material. As your evolutionary diet shifted toward cooked food and meat, that function quietly disappeared. Today, if your appendix gets inflamed, appendicitis doctors remove it. And when they do, absolutely nothing changes. You live a completely normal life. There is no detectable difference. Around 10 million appendectomies are performed globally every year, and every single one of those people is fine. In some populations, up to 1 in 5 people are already born without an appendix. Scientists believe it will eventually disappear from the human body entirely, not dramatically, but by quietly fading out of the genetic blueprint, generation by generation. The next one is stranger. You've had it since before you were born, and it's a direct fossil of a tail your ancestors used to swing through trees. The tailbone. Right now, at the very bottom of your spine, you have a small cluster of fused bones called the coccyx. You probably know it as your tailbone, and the name gives it away entirely. It's what's left of a tail your ancestors actually had. For your early primate ancestors, that tail wasn't decorative. It was an essential tool for balance while moving through trees, and possibly for communication. But around 25 million years ago, when apes started spending more time on the ground, the tail became unnecessary. It didn't disappear overnight, it reduced slowly, across millions of generations, until all that remained was the small, bony stub you're sitting on right now. Here's the part that surprises most people. You had a tail. Not metaphorically, your embryo literally developed a tail in the early weeks of gestation. It was absorbed back into your body before you were born. In extremely rare cases, babies are born with a vestigial tail, a small fleshy growth with tissue and blood vessels, which is surgically removed. Your coccyx currently anchors a few pelvic muscles and ligaments, which is probably why it hasn't disappeared yet. But studies on human skeletons show the lower backbone already tapering near the tailbone. Within roughly 10,000 years, scientists predict it will fuse fully into the spine, and the last trace of your ancestral tail will be gone. Now here's one you deal with every week. You shave it, wax it, or just tolerate it, and it turns out your body is already in the process of getting rid of it. Body hair. Think about the body hair you deal with on a regular basis: your legs, your armpits, your chest, your back. For most people, it's a grooming inconvenience, and that's exactly what evolution thinks of it too. Your ancient ancestors had thick body hair for 2 critical reasons: warmth and camouflage. Before your lineage developed clothing and fire, that hair was a biological coat. It regulated body temperature and helped blend into environments. The tiny muscles attached to each follicle, called erector pili, would make the hair stand up when you were threatened, making you look larger to predators. That same reflex is what gives you goosebumps today. But once your ancestors started making clothing roughly 100,000 to 500,000 years ago, that biological coat became redundant. You no longer needed hair for warmth. Camouflage stopped being a survival necessity. So body hair thinned dramatically across generations. Compare the thick fur of a chimpanzee, one of your closest evolutionary relatives, to what you have on your arms right now. Researchers predict your body hair will continue to thin over the next 20,000 years. Some hair, eyebrows, eyelashes will stay, because they still do something useful. But the rest? Evolution is slowly writing it off. The little toe, your little toe. You mostly notice it when you walk it into a piece of furniture in the dark and immediately regret your entire life. Other than that, it just exists on the end of your foot, quietly contributing almost nothing. Your ancestors needed strong, grippy toes for a very good reason: climbing trees. Early primates used all of their toes almost like fingers grasping branches, maintaining balance in the canopy, navigating rough terrain. Your little toe played an active role in all of that. But as your lineage evolved to walk upright and move primarily on flat ground, the balance shifted literally. Studies show that your balance is increasingly centered on the inner foot and the big toe. Your big toe now handles the vast majority of propulsion and balance when you walk and run. Your little toe contributes almost nothing to either. The shoes you wear every day have accelerated this. They provide artificial support that your smaller toes no longer have to work for, making them functionally less active with each generation. Scientists note the pinky toe has already reduced significantly over evolutionary time. Eventually, the small toes are expected to fuse or disappear, leaving future humans with a broader, more streamlined foot. That's still many thousands of years away. But the direction is set: male nipple. If you're male, you have nipples that serve no biological purpose. They can't produce milk. They have no reproductive function. Their presence is entirely a byproduct of how your development began. Here's what happened. In the earliest weeks of fetal development, every human embryo is essentially genderless. The foundation for nipples and mammary tissue is laid before testosterone enters the picture. It's only later in gestation, when testosterone begins differentiating a male fetus, that sex-specific development occurs. But by that point, the nipple structure is already in place. And since removing it offers no survival advantage, evolution has never gotten around to eliminating it. Only an estimated 0.001% of men are capable of lactating, an extraordinarily rare phenomenon driven by specific hormonal conditions. For the remaining 99.999%, male nipples are simply there, decorative, evolutionarily unaddressed. Scientists classify them as a classic vestigial trait. Over a very long evolutionary timeline, estimated at around 100,000 years, they are expected to eventually disappear. Ear muscles. And then there are your ear muscles. You have 3 muscles attached to each of your ears, the auricular muscles, and their job, in theory, is to move your ears. Look at a dog or a cat. When they hear a sound, their ears rotate precisely toward it. That's those muscles working. For your ancestors, it was a genuine survival tool, pinpointing a threat without turning your head. But as your lineage developed more sophisticated senses, vision, language, the ability to just turn around, the need to swivel your ears disappeared. Today, only a small percentage of people retain any voluntary control over these muscles at all. Those who can wiggle their ears are essentially showing off a feature that serves no practical purpose. Scientists classify the auricular muscles as firmly vestigial, and they're expected to weaken further and eventually disappear entirely. Erector pili muscles, goosebumps. You've had goosebumps today, or you will. You get cold, or startled, or a piece of music hits you in a certain way and the hair on your arm stands up. That's your erector pili muscles firing. And it's one of the most vivid examples of your body doing something that no longer serves any purpose. For your fur-covered ancestors, this reflex was genuinely valuable. When threatened by a predator, having all of their hair stand on end made them appear larger and more intimidating, a real defense mechanism. In cold weather, raised hair trapped a layer of warm air close to the skin, providing insulation. Both functions made sense when your ancestors had thick body hair. But your body hair thinned dramatically over hundreds of thousands of years. And now, when you're erector pili fire, there isn't enough hair to intimidate anything. The thin hair you have creates virtually no insulating layer. The muscle still contracts, but it's responding to a threat response system designed for a body you no longer have. Scientists classify the erector pili as one of the clearest vestigial reflexes in the human body. As your body hair continues to reduce across generations, the selective pressure to maintain this reflex disappears with it. Eventually, the muscle will weaken, become less common, and fade out entirely, leaving future humans without even the memory of what a goosebump felt like.